The Great Emu War. Introduction. The Great Emu War of 1932 is one of the most unusual and surreal conflicts in Australian history. It involved soldiers armed with machine guns facing off against vast flocks of emus, large flightless birds native to Australia. The campaign, aimed at controlling the emu population in Western Australia, ended in near-comic failure and has since become a legendary story of human versus nature. Background and prelude to the conflict. Post-war Australia and the emu problem. After World War I, the Australian government encouraged war veterans to take up farming in the arid and semi-arid regions of Western Australia. These soldiers-turned-farmers were offered land and financial support to start new lives as wheat farmers. However, by the early 1930s, these farmers faced numerous challenges, including a significant drop in wheat prices during the Great Depression and a drought that made farming conditions even more difficult. Adding to these problems was an unexpected adversary: emus. Each year, emus migrated from the inland to the coastal regions for breeding. In 1932, due to the drought, about 20,000 emus moved into the cultivated areas of Western Australia, particularly around the wheat-growing regions of Campion and Walgoolan. These birds, standing over 6 feet tall and capable of running at speeds of up to 50 km/h, began to devastate the crops, threatening the livelihoods of the farmers. Appeals for help. Desperate for a solution, the farmers turned to the government for assistance. They requested military support to deal with the emu invasion, arguing that the birds were destroying their crops and posing a severe threat to their agricultural efforts. The farmers' plight garnered attention, and in response, the government decided to take military action against the emus. The military response: deployment of soldiers. The operation to combat the emus was led by Major G.P.W. Meredith of the 7th Heavy Battery of the Royal Australian Artillery. Meredith, along with 2 soldiers armed with 2 Lewis guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition, was deployed to the wheat belt of Western Australia in early November 1932. The mission was straightforward: to reduce the emu population and protect the farmers' crops. Initial engagements. The first encounter with the emus took place on November 2, 1932. As the soldiers positioned themselves and prepared to open fire, they found that the emus were more elusive and faster than anticipated. The birds scattered in all directions, making it difficult to target them effectively. Despite firing on a large group, the soldiers managed to kill only a small number. In the following days, the soldiers continued their efforts, attempting various tactics to outmaneuver the emus. They even tried to ambush the birds near a dam where they gathered to drink. However, the emus seemed to outsmart the military tactics, splitting into smaller groups and quickly dispersing whenever they came under fire. The challenges of the campaign. The emu campaign quickly proved to be more challenging than expected. The emus' speed and agility, combined with the rough terrain, made it difficult for the soldiers to achieve their objectives. The Lewis guns, designed for stationary targets and trench warfare, were not well suited for shooting at moving targets in the open fields. On November 4th, a more concerted effort was made, with the soldiers setting up an ambush near a dam. This time, they managed to kill about 12 emus before their gun jammed. Another attempt was made on November 8th, when 1,000 emus were sighted. The soldiers managed to kill about 40 birds, but once again, the emus quickly scattered and eluded further attacks. The outcome of the first phase? By mid-November, after expending approximately 2,500 rounds of ammunition, only a few hundred emus had been killed. The soldiers' efforts were increasingly seen as futile, and the operation began to attract media attention and public criticism. Reports of the military's failure to curb the emu population spread, leading to questions about the effectiveness and cost of the campaign. The second phase and conclusion. Renewed efforts. Despite the initial setbacks, the government authorized a second attempt in December 1932. Major Meredith and his men resumed their efforts with renewed determination. However, the results were similar to the first phase, with the emus continuing to evade the military tactics. During this second phase, the soldiers attempted to use more strategic approaches, such as driving the emus towards ambushes. Despite some minor successes, the overall impact on the emu population was minimal. The birds' natural instincts and ability to adapt to the soldiers' tactics ensured their survival. The end of the campaign. By the end of December 1932, it was clear that the military intervention was not achieving its goals. The soldiers had killed an estimated 1,000 emus out of the tens of thousands that were causing problems. The emu population remained largely unaffected, and the damage to crops continued. In light of the failure, the military operation was called off. The government decided that other measures, such as bounty systems and improved fencing, would be more effective in controlling the emu population. The soldiers were withdrawn, and the Great Emu War came to an end. Aftermath and legacy. Impact on farmers. Although the military intervention did not succeed in significantly reducing the emu population, it did highlight the challenges faced by farmers in dealing with wildlife. The emu problem continued to be a concern, but subsequent efforts focused on non-military solutions. Farmers were encouraged to build better fences and to use other deterrents to protect their crops. Cultural and historical significance. The Great Emu War became a legendary episode in Australian history, often recounted with a mix of humor and disbelief. It is remembered as a unique instance where modern military forces were outmatched by nature. The story of the Great Emu War has been the subject of numerous articles, books, and documentaries, reflecting its enduring fascination. Major Meredith's reflections. Major Meredith, who led the campaign, later reflected on the experience with a sense of irony. He reportedly commented on the resilience and tenacity of the emus, comparing them to tanks for their ability to withstand gunfire and continue moving. His observations highlighted the adaptability and strength of wildlife in the face of human intervention. Broader lessons. Human-wildlife conflict. The Great Emu War serves as a reminder of the complexities involved in human-wildlife conflict. It underscores the importance of understanding ecological dynamics and finding sustainable solutions that balance the needs of both humans and animals. The failure of the military campaign illustrated that brute force is not always the most effective way to address environmental challenges. Adaptation and resilience. The emus' ability to adapt to the military tactics employed against them showcases the resilience of wildlife. This adaptability is a key survival trait that has allowed emus and many other species to thrive despite changing environments and human encroachment. Conclusion. The Great Emu War of 1932 stands out as a peculiar and memorable chapter in Australian history. It was a conflict that pitted soldiers against a seemingly invincible avian foe, resulting in a campaign that was as comical as it was serious. While the military effort to control the emu population ultimately failed, the event has left a lasting legacy, serving as a cautionary tale about the limits of human intervention in nature. The story of the Great Emu War continues to capture the imagination, symbolizing the unpredictable and often humorous interactions between humans and the natural world. It reminds us of the importance of respecting and understanding the environment, and of the unexpected ways in which nature can challenge human ingenuity.